Hi there, my name is Alyssa Troy. Welcome to the Hummingbird Blank Nectar Poetry Podcast. Today I will be reading for you my poem, I Find Comfort in the Zodiac Signs. We were never meant to be, according to the scriptures of astrology, and after happening upon this revelation, I scavenged for any aperture that might call into question the accuracy of this assertion. To my dismay, there was none. Jupiter challenges us in the way that we grow, while I question and debate, you empathize and dream. Mars warns me to proceed with caution, while it begs of you to charge at life without hesitation. And yet, I think of our moons, how they pacify each other, promising to never abandon the other in darkness. And Venus pleads her case, showing that the way we love complies with compatibility. I tried holding on to these truths, displaying them as if they somehow outranked the strength of our suns. But there is no contending what the stars proclaim. I have found solace in knowing there is nothing I can do to rearrange the sky for the odds to be in our favor. I have always been very interested in the zodiac signs, so much so that I actually planned the birth of my sons to fall under compatible signs with me and my husband, which is borderline crazy, I know. I actually have the signs tattooed on my arms. My husband and my first son, Callahan, are Taurus, and I and my second son, Shiloh, are Cancer. And I also go out of my way to make charts on the CoStar app for me and my friends so I can see our compatibility and understand our differences in perspective a little better so I can kind of work with what I know. When I found out that one of my best friends and I weren't as compatible in the eyes of the stars as we seemed to be, I was inspired to write this poem. It takes on the perspective of accepting what you get out of a relationship, even if in the end it wasn't meant to be. I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to see several of my poems published through different literary magazines and journals, including Blue Unicorn, Cool Bean Lits, Zoetic Press, in parentheses, etc. I also self-published a book in 2020. It is titled Transfiguration, which can be found and purchased on Amazon. My writing journey began when I was in 5th grade. And I was experiencing a lot of darkness and emotions that weren't probably typical for a 5th grade kid to be experiencing. However, my 5th grade teacher at the time noticed that when I wrote beautifully, and that I was able to express myself in a way that I wasn't expressing outward to people. So she actually went out of her way to buy me my own journal that I could share my thoughts in. And I realized how helpful writing could be for me to understand myself and to get through my thoughts and those overwhelming feelings that I was experiencing at the time. And then that obviously followed me through, high school, college. In college, I actually began using that writing for poetry for music, and I would write lyrics for songs that I would create on guitar. But now, as I've gotten older, I focused more on the aspect of poetry itself and less of music. I am now a middle school teacher myself, and I try to create that kind of comfort, and I try to recognize those special qualities of each of my students now so that I can hopefully impact their lives the way that my 5th grade teacher impacted my life. Right now, I have 2 favorite bands. My favorite bands are The Maine and 21 Pilots. I highly recommend listening to Oldie Station and Snapback from 21 Pilots' new album, Clancy. Those 2 songs were like the theme song of my summer. Just would listen to them on repeat, just the 2 songs over and over again. They got me through some really tough times, but they're also just beautifully written. And so definitely give those a listen. And then The Maine is very special to me. My first son is actually named after the lead singer, John O'Callaghan. and I would recommend listening to their song, Unlost, because that is the song that the band was playing when they allowed my husband to come up on stage and propose to me. So it's got a lot of special meaning behind it for me. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast, and I hope you guys have an incredible day.